common topic in international business, more specifically dealing with ethics and social responsibility, is moral hazard. The chances are you've encountered this somewhere, either in another course, perhaps in the news. But let's try to explain it further by giving an example. Let's say an engineering company, SNC Lavalin, a company I'm sure you've heard of through the various case studies on Tim Richardson's website, decides to invest in an engineering project in Guinea. Now, if you've been keeping up with the news, this is a fairly risky operation. Guinea and other areas in Africa have been infested with a fairly fatal disease known as Ebola. Without question, the government would recommend, not just the Canadian government, but the Guinea government would recommend SNC Lavalin not engage in an operation like this. Now, as we know, SNC Lavalin likes to bend the rules a little bit and enter very ethically sensitive territory. So let's just assume they decide to take this route and decide to go to Guinea. Now, what happens when they go to Guinea? Well, first and foremost, their employees get infected. And this is a fairly fatal virus, so chances are some of them may have died within a couple days of that operation. Not only that, an engineering project like that definitely interferes with mainstream activities within the country and within the local areas. And some of these mainstream activities, given the climate and the condition and the spread of this virus, could very well be medical treatment, constant medical treatment. And if you're interfering with that flow, you're interfering with the treatment, and inadvertently you're causing the death of innocent civilians as well, not just your own employees. So this company here is putting at risk their own employees as well as the citizens of that country. Now, let's just say Canada decides we can't afford to have SNC Lavalin lose its reputation yet again in another situation. So what they decide to do is a bit of a medical bailout of sorts. They decide to compensate for the loss of life as well as any medical treatment required to treat the employees of SNC Lavalin, as well as offering these same compensation plans for people within the citizens of Guinea as well, allowing them to receive the treatment and support that they need as well. But to be perfectly honest, this company was warned not to do these operations and assume these risks. Yet the government, in the end, decided to quote-unquote bail them out. So what this is exactly is what moral hazard is. So when a company, organization, person decides to take on very unnecessary and potentially damning risks, knowing that another party will bear them. In this case, this would be the government, backing up, supporting, giving SNC Lavalin this medical bailout plan, because they don't want to risk them falling down in terms of their reputation. And of course, this is not something recent. This isn't something that this is something that's very common. You'll find it in the news. If you look at the 2007 financial crisis, if you look at things like the Enron crisis, this is a very, very serious matter. But of course, not everyone can get away with this. The likes of Enron clearly took part in false accounting, fraud, and what have you. The government didn't back them up here. And what ended up happening is that these things got publicized, and the company completely collapsed, and all, or a fairly large number of their executives were fined for criminal charges. So what I'm trying to get at here is moral hazard is a topic that exists. It can very likely happen given the example that I gave you. But it's a topic, but it's something that's very, very risky. And it's something no company should risk unless they want to face a situation that Enron had to face back in the day.